Hello Year 12 and welcome to our third video here on triangles. In our last exercise we used the tan ratio to find the length of the opposite side given the adjacent. Now today we're going to sort of do the opposite in a way, and we're going to use the opposite and adjacent sides to find the angle. But first of all we're going to talk a little more about angles. So angles measure rotation, and a full rotation, turning around back to where you started from, is 360 degrees. But each of those degrees we can split up into 60 smaller parts called minutes. And each minute can be divided into 60 seconds, so we can get smaller and smaller parts of an angle. Now we use this notation here, and there's a little typo here. That shouldn't say minutes, that should say degrees. So this here reads as 23 degrees, 45 minutes, 22 seconds. Right, and we use a DMS button on our calculator to do that as well. So we have to be a little careful when we're rounding to the nearest degree, because instead of being at 0.5 and we go up, it's now 30 minutes and above we round up, and 29 minutes and below we round down. So now we're going to use the tan ratio to find the size of an angle. And this is the formula as such that we're going to use. Notice we've got this inverse tan, tan to the -1. Inverse tan, we're going to press the shift or second function button on our calculator. To do that, we do that anytime we're finding an angle. So to find the angle theta, we want the inverse tan of opposite divided by adjacent. Now, here's an example. We'll see how it works. So I have a right angle triangle. That's important to begin with. There's my right angle. And there's the angle that we want to find. Now, compared to that angle there, this side here that connects the angle to the right angle, you'll remember, is called the adjacent side. And this side here that is not connected to the angle at all is called the opposite side. And to find the angle, we do the inverse tan of opposite over adjacent. So to find that angle, we want the inverse tan. There should be a little -1 there. There's another typo. Little -1 there. The inverse tan of 2/4. And let's pull up the calculator and do that. So you can see my calculator here. We're going to do the inverse tan, so shift tan on this calculator, of 2 over, it's my fraction button, 2/4, close that bracket. Okay, so you can see there what's on my calculator is what I've written on the page. The inverse tan of 2/4 is 26.56 or something else. Now from that, that's in decimal degrees, and I can just round that up from the 5. So that's about 27 degrees. But if I wanted it in degrees, minutes, seconds, on my calculator I'm going to press this button. On yours it might say DMS for degrees, minutes, seconds. There we go, 26 degrees, 33 minutes, 54.18 seconds. And because that is more than 30 minutes, we're going to round up to the nearest, we want to get to the nearest minute, not the nearest degree. Okay, to the nearest minute, you can see I've got 54 seconds, so that's nearly a full minute. So it's 26:34 minutes. Okay, so here we go, 26 degrees, 34 minutes is the size of that angle to the nearest minute. Here's another one. Again, a right angle triangle. It's important. Here's my angle that I'm trying to find. The side that is connected, that connects the angle to the right angle, is adjacent here. It's 3.6. The side that's not at all connected to the angle is the opposite side, and in this case is 5.1. So to find that angle, we want the inverse tan of opposite over adjacent. 5.1 over 3.6. Calculator again. Inverse tan, right, so shift tan, of 5.1, and I can just use the divided by here as well. That works just the same. 3.6, close my bracket, equals 54.7824. But I want to the nearest minute, so I press my degrees, minutes, seconds button. I get 54.46, 56. Again, it's plain to see that that's going to round up to 47 minutes. So 54, 47 is the answer that we're after there. Righto, that's it for using tan to find an angle. Just to wrap up what we did there, we need a right angled triangle, and if we know the length of the two short sides, that is not the hypotenuse, the adjacent and the opposite sides, then we can calculate the size of the angles, either of the angles, using the tan ratio. Okay. And we do that this way, the inverse tan of the opposite over the adjacent. Righto, that's it for today. Our next exercise will be on sine and cosine, but if you've got any questions about using tan to find an angle, make sure you ask your teacher.